Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Chasing Edges podcast. Got an incredible human, a true professional on today, Bouye. He's an NFL cornerback, Pro Bowler, long list of accolades, but he, by way of University of Central Florida, was an undrafted free agent, so an underdog story. We played together with the Houston Texans, and then he went on to earn a massive contract with the Jacksonville Jaguars, Denver Broncos, and the Carolina Panthers. Stud story, and we talk a lot about that as he's starting to enter the transition phase of his life. So we beat that like a dead horse per usual on the podcast, talking about learning to learn again, being an infant, where to spend your time, how to keep your structure, things along those lines. But we also touch on his favorite recovery modalities, firing patterns, how to properly prepare. And then through the whole conversation, we pull from all the greats we were around in the NFL, the J.J. Watts, the Jalen Ramseys, Kareem Jackson, Jonathan Joseph, what we learned from them, what tactics we applied to our careers. It's a really fun conversation. So I hope you enjoy. Boom. AJ, thanks for joining me, brother.
No problem, man. How's it going?
Dude, everything's good in my hood, man. Just living, learning, lifting, growing. You know the deal. How's everything in your world?
Going good. Same thing. Just constantly growing, spending time with family.
Dude, that's one of the main reasons I wanted to talk to you, just because I speak a lot about it on the podcast, where like there's not always people don't always know that they're mentoring you. I think the high performers, like the really good athletes and people in the business world, like they walk into an environment, they find the best players or the people that are accelerating and things like that. And or the veterans, the 8, 10, 12 year, the J Joes and the K Jacks of the Texans and things like that, where what are they doing? What's kept them in the league this long? How are they thriving and surviving? And then so when I was around the Texans, obviously you were on your up and up, where you went from this undrafted free agent to this all pro player, which is really cool. But I got to see some of that where your discipline was unmistakable, where you're doing Dr. Casey Ho's hip movement drills, everything pre-practice. Obviously you're doing his acupuncture and Chiro stuff too. But then one of the coolest things is you're the only player in NFL history that I saw in my time there where you were bringing books to meetings and you're sitting there reading in between deals. So I thought that was dope, and I thought it was really cool. So that's one of the main reasons I want to talk to you, is I always saw you, you led by example, you're curious, you're learning. So that's where we actually usually start the podcast out at, is where are you chasing edges right now? Where are you learning? Where are you growing?
Yeah. First off, it's funny that you said that, man, because I totally forgot about reading books and meetings, man. It was just something I was always a big reader. And I think you said it, just coming to Houston, we had guys like K-Jack and J-Joe, and even like JJ. I was fortunate enough to meet those guys my rookie year and to just study their routine, their habits. And these are guys who are at the top of their game. And I knew that if I wanted to be there, I had to do the same thing. And so I just try to have that mindset going into this transition. And that's one thing, like you said, where I'm at with it now. I'm just, doing a lot of real estate, doing a lot of other business things, and trying to get into venture capital. Also, I have an AAU program with these kids that I've been helping out a lot. So really just being busy with that and just spending more time with the family.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, that's obviously they're I think some guys get twisted. There's so much life outside of football too, where even a buddy of mine, Will Compton, those guys, they built out this massive podcast now. But I think players need life outside of football, business ventures, hobbies, to balance out the stress and everything of high performance. Football is obviously massively fun, and it feeds our competitive side and our primal side, but there's still balance to that amount of work that goes into that, where it's obviously you got the family as well, where that's a balance. But I love that you have all those ventures going on outside, because I think that actually brings peace. So have you found that?
Yeah, I found a little bit of it. I think the hardest part, and I could say this for a lot of players, because I feel like I've dealt with this. I've been playing football my whole life. My dad had me in it since I was 4. So that's all I knew, waking up early, staying up late, doing extra workouts because you're taught to work harder than the next person and everything like that. And it's boom, it's over. How do I transition? We talked about it before the show, as far as being an infant again, learning new things. But not only that, your environment has to be able to change with you, because football is all you know. So I think that's really been the biggest thing. But the transition, man, it's smoother than what I planned for, because you've seen some guys try to transition it and work out well for them.
Yeah, it's interesting because you see some like very high performers in football, and like it's this massive like identity crash, and it just like I think it's lack of understanding. That's why I love the infant idea, because like, okay, like everything's just changed, and like everything hasn't changed for the worse. Like everything's just changed. Like life's always going to be this ebb and flow. Okay, so like where do I want it to go? Hopefully, like most NFL guys, you have some financial freedom where you get space, but so you have to be curious again. You have to try new things. You have to suck again. Like it's okay to be like an infant and like be bad at something new, but like hopefully your same competitiveness translates over your ability to time manage, your ability to take care of your body, you know how to be healthy, and that should set you up for success in some way, shape, or form. But you need the understanding and perspective to say like it's okay that like just because I'm not playing NFL football again doesn't make me not an athlete anymore. I can still play sports. I can do jujitsu. I can rock climb. I can go play pickup basketball. I can do whatever I want. And like, and to some extent, you need that culture of guys that are still like playing sports and moving and being healthy, because like you always had that built in with football. So it makes sense to like, I need this after sport too. That shouldn't change. It's not handed to me with like the 9-to-5 structure of sports, but I get the creativity to like choose who I'm around, choose what sports I'm playing, choose what's fun, and try new shit. And if it doesn't work, okay, I'll change sports, or I'll try a new workout regimen or a new diet. Like life doesn't stand. Like, yeah, and NFL, I want the most out of my body and optimal perform and high perform. Like there's no difference between life. I think people get that twisted where like, no, I don't want to wake up and hit snooze 5 times. I don't want to like just go punch the card at work. Like I want to enjoy what I'm doing. I want to thrive. I want to high perform. Like life's short enough. Like I'm going to maximize it. So like, yeah, dude, like that's the process. And like, it's exciting that like you're in that now, because like I think that's super fun. Cause I think the hardest part is like learning how to learn again. Like that sucked for me. Like I looked for how to study. I started taking classes. I started doing all these certifications. Like shit, like my attention span for this is trash. I love breaking down film, but the science, like the Krebs cycle.
I know that feeling, man. And I think the biggest thing when it comes to transitioning for any athlete, honestly, is just like, you know, and I piggyback off this because I'm going somewhere with it. As far as like, we were raised to do this our whole life. So our vision has always been to be a football player, NFL player. So we made that, but we finish around 30, 35 years. If we're blessed enough, like 35 years old, that means you have a good career, but then you still have a good amount of time ahead of you. So now it's realigning your vision, seeing what's new that you want to chase. And I think that's where a lot of people get lost, as far as like, we made it, now what? Let me just figure it out, and not really have a plan and a goal. And that's why even now, like my wife laughs at it, but I still have the same type of routine where I'm getting up at 4:30 in the morning, because I'm starting my day with my goals and everything, just trying to see, how do I want to attack this day, attack this week? What am I trying to learn? In the past 3 months, I learned how to play the piano. I learned how to golf. I learned so much stuff.
Let's go.
It's being an infant, but I've loved to, how can I say, I love to grow, because I know when I'm 40 years old, I'm going to be different. I'm hoping I learn 3 languages by then. Like, that's just me. So I think when everybody has that mindset, it will kind of help the transition better. You know, it's hard to fix injuries. You know, we have a lot of head injuries, and we have to find ways to take care of that also. And I think like talking to you is just, I want to work with you, because these are things that I'm trying to work on now. So
yeah, well, yeah, it's like you said so much cool shit right there. Like one, the fact that you wake up and like revisit your purpose. So like because we have this kind of system in my company where like, okay, like everybody should like always be aware of like what they're doing, where they're going, how they're doing it, and that kind of thing. So like everybody should know what their purpose is. Like purpose gets kind of played out, but like you need to know why you're doing what you're doing. Like you need to have meaning in your life to do that. So like my purpose, even when I was playing, like I did this podcast in like 2015 where like asked me what my purpose was. My purpose is to grow. Like, so, okay. So like now, like, what are my standards for growth? Like, okay, I want to always be growing. I want to be the hardest worker. I want to be curious. Okay. Now, like, what systems do I have in place to support that? Because if not, I'm all talk. If my systems don't support that. So, okay, what am I learning? Well, I'm taking classes. I'm getting around these humans. I'm podcasting and having these conversations. And then like the last step is vision. Like, where am I going with this? And hopefully your vision keeps you growing, because like your vision will bring you back to your purpose and you keep growing and learning, and it's dynamite. But what else did you say right there? You had some other, I lost my train of thought, but besides the point, but like that mindset is like bulletproof. And like, that's, I think everybody should kind of live in that world of like, okay, what is growth? Cause like the fact that like 3 languages, and like, I think people get it twisted too, when like, the point I was going to make before I lost my train of thought is like, people always say they're fine, or I'm good. Like, I'm happy where I'm at, like, and those kind of things. Like that's a problem, because like in 5 years, if I'm the same person and I'm still fine, like I'm going to be pissed off. Cause like I could be 5 years better, 3 languages better, these piano songs better. And like, that's how you measure life, is in your capability. Like, okay, how can I like wow people at a party? I sit down and start playing like Outcast or something on the piano. Like that's dope. Like, oh, like I walk in, like I have a Uber driver, not to be stereotypical, but like somebody that's speaking a different language, and I can speak their language and like actually solve a problem because I have this capability. Like that makes more sense to me. But I just like that philosophy and that lifestyle, just because like life's going to be super interesting and meaningful if I'm constantly growing, constantly adding capability. And like growing, even to me, means like depth of relationships. Like, how good of a father can I be? What can I learn on how to be the best dad? Like, how much do I let them learn on their own, and how much do I give them wisdom? And it's just like, that's life's fun if like my parenting's meaningful, and to like this minute detail. And I think life's incredible, and it's too short. So like, everybody should just live and be healthy and do all those things, which is why I try and do the podcast and spread the good word. But yeah, dude, I think your mindset's dynamite. Just to circle it back real quick, just to like the observation and learning part though, like what did you pick up from like the K Jacks and the J Joes and JJ and all those guys that like kind of stood out initially as far as like molding your own mindset and habits?
I think one of the biggest things I picked up, I could probably go from each person. So, being a DB and a rookie, as a rookie, I'm in the room with the likes of Ed Reed, Jonathan Joseph, Kareem Jackson. These are guys who, even to this day, like Kareem is still in the NFL playing at a high level. And I don't think people give him enough recognition, but it's just like, J-Jo was a guy you could tell like he knew the game even before stepping on the field. In the meeting rooms, he's talking about concepts with coaches. Like we're watching film, he's probably seen every play before we watch the media. So it's just like, okay, this guy makes it look easy on the field. He's very athletic, but it's not just athleticism alone. It's him knowing the game and knowing tendencies. With Kareem, it was just he showed me how to take care of my body. Like he every day in a hot tub, cold tub, contrast, and like in the sauna in the off season, like he's a guy that takes recovery serious. And then we already know JJ. JJ is just going to work from 4 a.m. to 8 p.m., go to bed and do it all over again 7 days a week. And I think, just having guys who were open to letting younger guys like me come up to them and ask them questions and also give me knowledge, it helped me to be the player that I was. And I'm appreciative of that. And that's one thing that I try to give to the younger guys also.
Yeah, dude, I think that's dope. I bring this up a lot on the podcast too, is that like help and support are not yours to keep. Like the guy, like obviously a lot of people helped you. So like, and like, I think that's what makes the NFL really cool, where like that happens a lot, where like a lot of like older vets, like if you show genuine interest, they know you're committed and disciplined and like really trying to add value. Like they'll help you endlessly. Like I got like Cush's IV guy and functional masseuse, and like, but then like obviously learn from him and watching other guys. Like I watched film with J Joe just to like understand like the underneath zones and stuff better. And then like obviously playing next to those guys, now it's even amplified. So all my work gets amplified when J Joe says, hey, B, watch this out here or whatever. Like, it's just like, okay, like this is why I do it. And then so now how do I add value to him? Like, how do I get him better so that like this equal flow of information happens or whatever? Yeah. No, so I like your mindset there too. But so as far as like your personal growth inside of football, like obviously like coming in, like your mindset as a like undrafted free agent, and like obviously earning a spot to eventually obviously signing this deal with Jacksonville and like being this all-pro player. Like how did your mindset and approach to the game evolve?
It was a lot of growing, it was a lot of setbacks. And I think earlier in my career, I was kind of hard on myself. And, I was, how can I say it? I was afraid of failure. I didn't want to fail because when you're undrafted, you feel like the minute you fail, it's over with. And I think I had to change my mindset. And just like, even with life, like looking back at all the bad things that happened to me, I'm appreciative of it now. Just like even with football, looking back at all the bad plays that happened to me, I'm appreciative of it because going into my contract year, I started to get attacked that way. So now I'm studying it and I'm capitalizing on it. And I think that's what just helped me with everything as far as like, you have to be comfortable watching yourself mess up because that's the only way you're going to learn from it. And I think just growing, man, honestly, just being a better teammate. And that's one thing that I'm trying to do now, just be a better father, be a better husband, like you said, be a better son. And it's just constantly growing, always wanting to learn, always wanting to be better, not being content. And I think my bad seasons early was because I was too content. I thought I knew it all, even though I didn't. So
Yeah, that's the thing about life and football is like even like the more you know, the less you know. Like it's like getting really smart. Eventually you learn that like nothing about the universe or chemistry or anything like that. It's just like that, there's not enough time to learn everything. And even football, there's so many nuances and like it's such an art form that changes every play, every situation, like every year, like the copycat league of new plays and like that's kind of things. Like you're never gonna learn the master the game. And so if you accept that, like, you're always a student, if you're always like going to be learning or have to like seek out new people to learn from, like, okay, like this can be a lifestyle. It can be a process that I enjoy where like failure is part of the game. Like I say this a lot too, where like perfect has no room in like sports. It has no room in life. And like, I think obviously like social media gets it twisted where people try and post the perfect life or whatever, but like football, there's no perfect game. There's no like there's like you're always going to take a wrong step here. You're gonna like the other person's getting paid too. You're going to get got sometimes. It's just like how well can you handle that and move forward? But it's like that's part of the game and part of life. So like okay, let's accept that. And like I think the people that handle those the best and learn the fastest from it obviously are the high performers that eventually obviously in football stick around longer, get paid more, X, Y, and Z. I think it's just like it's problem solving. And like, so like, I think some of the best performers are the most curious, then also the best problem solvers. And then obviously you need work ethic to back it up. But yeah, I always say it too, where like you walk into, you look at the Texans, like cornerback room or DB room, there's not a drastic difference from like a physical gift standpoint between everybody. Like as far as like top speed, obviously people have more range and like physical gifts and stuff like that. But like the separators between the ears, like, and like, obviously, because you were in Jacksonville when Tyron got in, but like he was a master between the ears, same as like a J. Joe and those kind of things. And you see it like, okay, why is he an impact player? Well, between the ears, like he's bulletproof. Like between the ears, like he probably prepared the most out of anybody. Okay, that makes sense. So, okay, so like now, like, because like even when I coach mental skills and stuff, like you identify that like the most limiting factor or the most important factor in a system is the most limiting. And so usually it's the brain. Usually it's the ability to handle these negative, either criticism from a coach, the losses, the one-on-one touchdowns, getting mossed, missing a tackle, whatever, like that can fold some guys. And you see it happen with younger players too. But I think that's critical. And like, obviously you just articulated that beautifully where it's like, okay, how comfortable can I get with my mess ups? How comfortable can I get with this? And how fast can I learn? And like, now it's like, it applies to life and you're using it in life now. Like, but it's just like, how do I instill that into other people? And it's like, I think it's like podcasting, telling your story, presenting, whatever, or just like casual conversation with other high performers or other people struggling.
Right. No, I agree with that. I think, and that's one thing with athletes, man. We're so, you said it, the top ones, we're just so comfortable being uncomfortable. That's the best way to kind of say it. And I think I try to do that in everything. Like even now, like learning new things, you might not get used to it at first. It's like foreign language to you, but the more you force yourself to sit down and just learn, it becomes second nature like this. And I take that in business standpoint, as far as like anything I want to invest in, I have to learn it first. I don't want to go in blindly. So let me put in the work and just read. Let me study. Let me watch these seminars, these videos. And I think, man, I'm glad that I'm blessed enough to be able to have played this game for a long time. because it just taught me so many habits and routines. And like you said, just having a system in place with my vision, that was the biggest thing that I learned.
Yeah, it's just like because like initially we used the system on kids, and like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of kids want to get a college scholarship. A lot of kids want to be the best player on their team. And like, okay, like what do you like, well, I want to be the hardest worker. Okay, well, like what systems do you have in place? Like you're not staying late, you're not showing up, you're not studying, you're not so like your systems aren't supporting your words. And like I just even with these business professionals I work with, usually like their system, there's a break in their systems because like everybody can logically figure out how to be a high performer. It's more work, more patience, more knowledge, more money, more whatever it ends up being. But like their systems to constantly support that. And so now it's consistency and discipline that show up on top of having the right system. So I just think like, yeah, it's like naturally like, and that's where like, yeah, athletes transition. What you got?
So I got a question for you because I was actually talking to someone about this. So with this new social media age and the way it is towards high school sports and in general, what do you feel like kids, those going into high school or those getting ready to go to college, what do you think is the most important thing that they need to work on for as far as to improve their performance? Is it a physical thing or is it more of a mental?
I mean, I think obviously like they're still growing and developing. Like I think that stuff will like, I'd say like if since you brought up the social media and stuff, I'd say training like attention and distraction is like a big separator because I think a big crippler of kids now is the social media era where it's okay, I'm constantly training distraction, so my ability to focus goes down. So it's like again because like you're getting these free dopamine hits on your phone, what you're switching to the TV or the TV's on while you're on your phone, and so like you're really good at distraction, but like high performance in football, you got to focus like on and off for like 3 hours. So
Yeah.
like but everything in my life leads to attention. Like I'm in my life, like I do it in breathing. So like if you want to be a great breather, like let's solve your sleep first. Like let's make the unconscious conscious. That makes sense to me. Let's get you breathing all right all day so that you can breathe right in performance. You have the fundamentals, you have the good mechanics, you have the right cellular gas exchanges and things like that. So okay, let's solve life and like the non-high performance side of life first, because I think all that translates. Like it's like the way you do one thing's the way you do everything in some essence, where okay, like if I'm training attention and distraction all day, if I'm training distraction, how am I going to expect to be very attentive and focused on like my eye control as a corner? I'm not. Like I'm going to lose attention. Or like I think there's like how you train yourself outside of sport applies directly to how good you are at your sport. And like again, sports is fast-paced decision making, focus attention to the right things. Like that's why the separators in between the ears. So I like even so I spoke to some high school kids yesterday, like probably like 400 or 500 high school kids and coaches on like high performance and handling their mental state. And I was trying to explain to them that like the separator in sports, especially at higher levels, is between the ears. So you need to be able to like solve problems very clearly. And then like you need to have a full battery, like because basically they're talking about like balancing sports in school and stuff like that. And obviously they want to be really good at their sport, but like if you don't have a full battery, like if you're not doing everything right outside of your sport, meaning like sleeping right, dieting, hydrating, unplugging and not being distracted, then you have a much better chance of being a great athlete as opposed to like being on your phone all day, not sleeping because you're on your phone, like things like that. I think it's really easy for kids to get caught in that feedback loop where it's like, okay, like they'll check it or they're texting people before they go to sleep. They don't understand blue light. And they're in the phase of their life where like they're naturally going to be sleeping more than the average human. They're not like 8 hours isn't enough for kids, like particularly teenagers. So you're impeding not only your physical growth, but then like your mental energy that you need to expend in sport. So I guess that probably like I'd say basically like kind of like train your attention, because like our attention span's going down fast. So like and I think great athletes have the ability to focus long term, whether they're studying football, like they're studying film, or they're on the field like honing their art and honing their craft. So I'd say like make sure your whole life's built around like being a great athlete and a high performer, and that means attention. And because like I do think the social media is obviously a problem, but it's also a massive tool. Cause like we didn't have huddle when we were in school. Like these guys can make their own highlight tapes and get them dude, I was making like, I mean, you're a little younger than me, but like, I was making VHS tapes to send out, like burning and copying. Like that's how fucking old
I made
am.
DVDs.
Yeah, but yeah, but like so like I was like the last year of VHS tapes, I think, in 2007 coming out of high school, but 2006, 2007. But it's a massive tool. Like you can get some attention. Like obviously you see college coaches interacting with players on Twitter and that kind of thing. Like it's a really cool tool. So like presenting yourself and like how you like every tweet you make matters. Like,
Yes.
because if I'm bullshit with my guys on Twitter and they see that like I'm a jackass, like that's a problem. So like it's a massive tool if you want it to be, or it's poison. And it's and like because like now like because like I don't have any kids, so like I don't get to like get this opportunity like do trial and error with it. But like how do we teach our kids that even though like our followers and our likes are quantifiable, that you can count them, but that like they hold no value. That number, that quantity isn't valuable. Like it's valuable like if you're getting sponsorships and those kind of things, or like you're plugging your business or you're networking. Awesome, incredible amount of value. But if you're a kid where it's only it is likes and what's my identity, what gets the most likes, like what like, do I need to show more skin as a girl or anything like that that is not the right value. So like
Right.
you can count it, but it holds no value. How do I teach that? And like this is a tool to do good. It's a tool to share. It's a like to share information or to share experience or push people towards experience, or like, again, just cultivate the right group of friends and followers. But yeah, I think it's a whole, I mean, it's a dangerous tool, but I do think it is influential in optimal performance as an athlete because it's really easy to be distracted in these days.
Yes, I agree. Yes.
Yeah. So that was kind of a rant, but it just like that makes like it makes sense to me because like I just like I keep these last 3 podcasts, I kind of pound on these, but like if you want a meaningful life, everything's meaningful. And where I think like guys transitioning from sport, like it's really easy to put meaning behind an NFL career and the paycheck and the platform and all the attention and that kind of thing. But like just being a normal human, for lack of a better term, like if everything's if like my morning routine, waking up at 4:30 is meaningful, my life's going to be more meaningful. If how I hug my daughter and speak to my daughter is meaningful, my life's more meaningful. But if you do it as happenstance, very mindless, like you don't have meaning in your life. You don't have meaning to how you're cultivating your daughter. You don't have meaning to like your job or process right now. But like it's the same as like attaching, like for a salesman and the workforce, like if you don't believe in the product you're selling, like if you don't have any meaning behind why you're selling it, you're not going to be motivated. Like I have a bunch of buddy in logistics. They don't have any meaning attached to their job. Like it's their paycheck to like live life outside of work. But like I'm not going to waste a 9 to 5 of my life 5 days a week on something that's not meaningful to me. So in my life, it makes more sense. Like that's why I'm in like the health and performance industry and the mindset and growing, is that like this is a life I want to live, and it keeps me healthy. So I have meaning behind it. It keeps me sharing and being fulfilled by helping others. So like I have a lot of meaning behind what I do. So it just makes sense to me where like, even if your life on paper could be the most mundane thing in the world, but you have meaning behind every little thing, I bet life's way more enjoyable if you're just like going through the motions, you know?
That's the truth. Yes. And I think because the how can I say it? There's people who, let's say, they've been doing a 9 to 5 for the last 30 years. That's all they know. And I think the biggest thing is just, like I said, finding the vision. But even if you're having a busy day, I don't think it hurts to take 30 minutes to an hour a day to do something towards where you want to be. You see what I'm saying? And I think we have so much time throughout the day, but we don't capitalize on it because we're constantly like we're in a sense kind of programmed to just go through the day, just lethargic, not really, like you said, with meaning. And I think that's what hit on me, what you said, as far as like even interacting with our kids. We're around our kids every day, all day. So sometimes we might get it too relaxed and we might not have meaning behind a message that we're trying to give our kid. And I think I like what you said with that, man. I think that's one thing I'm definitely going to have intention with when it comes to my kids, man. Just having more meaningful conversations with them on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's dope. I think there's, why would you not, you know, like if you logically think about it, like, why would I not, like, I'm already here in the conversation. Why would I not get the most out of it, you know? And then like, I podcasted Bert Soren a long time ago. He's the owner of Sorenex weightlifting equipment, which is a phenomenal company. Shout out to the boys. But really cool thing, like one of his friends did, is he journaled to his daughter every day, and she didn't know he was doing it. And he ended up passing away, like, I think pretty like randomly. And she found the journals that he wrote to her every day. And then I had another buddy, he goes, like, we were talking about this meaning. He goes like, how do you hug your mom every time? And I go, like, I hug my mom. Like, I didn't think about it. I didn't have meaning to it. He goes, well, and so I was in Chicago at the time, but besides the point. Basically, like, he made me do the math on how many times, like, if I wasn't living in Ohio, how many times would I see my mom? Okay, I'd see her 4 times a year, maybe 6 if she's coming to a couple games, whatever. So my mom might, and then like the average life expectancy is like 75, 80. So like, I'm only gonna see my mom 112 more times. Like, why would I not care about how I hug her, how I talk to her? Like, that makes sense to me. So it's just like, how much can you put in perspective to add meaning to, I think is cool. But like, yeah, like, I think it's like, it's a fun conversation, but it's always something like your morning purpose for each day, like our purpose for our life and our purpose for like the spectrum of like who we're going to be around for how long is lost too, because it's really easy just to go through the motions. It's really easy to like not solve your problems. Like, avoidance is an easy psychological thing. Like, well, I'm unhealthy. Like, well, I'm not solving the problem. I'm still choosing to sit and eat and do X, Y, and Z. But like, okay, if I want to live like 5 years longer, like, what do I need to do? I need to get in the sauna or do a little bit. It's just like all those problem solving abilities, I think, show up. And it's I don't know, it's the way I like to live, and way I preach and profess how to live. But yeah, I just think it makes like if everybody can get a little more meaning in their life, like, life's going to be a lot better, and you're probably going to treat people better too.
Agree. Yes.
Yeah, that's do we got? I thought we were gonna snag a little cameo from the kids.
Wife and newborn.
Yeah, if you got to help, you could do your thing.
Okay. Huh? You okay?
Yeah. Go ahead, finish up.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll rip it. We'll rip another 10 minutes or so, but so we'll get into some of the more like the tactical sides of it. Like, so obviously, like, you were very curious in how you took care of your body, obviously, and how you studied as well. But like, what were some of the modalities you found helped you best as far as like staying healthy and getting back and all those things?
So I could say during my career, probably the last 2 to 3 years, I had a lot of soft tissue injuries and things like that. And I kind of sat down and was wondering, like, what do I think was the reason? Like, what was it that I was doing different then from now? And I think some of the biggest things that I picked up on was definitely, for sure, hydration. You know, I look at it from a standpoint of I hydrate before practice, I hydrate the night before, but the problem was I would get out on practice, I'll drink Gatorade, drink water, and I feel like I'm still hydrated. And even after practice, I'm not putting all those fluids back in my body. And I think that's what it was, because I was blessed enough not to have traumatic injuries that was having setbacks. But you know how it is with soft tissue injuries. It's always lingering. It's always something. So I think one of the biggest things that I was doing early in my career, like you said, was seeing Dr. Ho, getting the dry needling, you know, once, twice a week. When I was in Houston, I was getting it twice a week. But when I was in Jacksonville and even in Denver and Carolina, I would try to get him down there once a week, and he helped out with that. But just, you know, the prehab exercises, you know, before, you know, you have rehab, but we call it prehab, as far as like before practicing, I'm doing all the functional movements, all the exercises that activate the muscles, because hamstrings, you know, you hear it a lot. Some of the hamstring problems come because your glutes aren't activated or because your hamstrings aren't strong enough. So what am I doing? Am I taking, just like I said, when it comes to a 9 to 5, am I doing something 30 minutes a day to make sure it's towards my goal? Am I doing something 30 minutes a day to make sure that I'm on top of my body, to make sure that I'm performing at an optimal level? One thing was the steam room, because it helped me like just, you know, inhale the steam, but just to help me feel loose. The exercises, man, it's a lot that goes into it, and just really finding out what works for you. Sometimes you're not going to have the energy to do everything every single day, but the main stuff that I knew worked for me, I try to do it every day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And like the prehab always made sense to me, where like the dynamic, like the 15-minute, if that dynamic warm up the team does together wasn't enough. And you see that with like the hyper, like obviously you see K-Jack and J-Joe and JJ and all those guys in there, like they're in there for like hard 30 minutes, like getting loose, getting Theragun, getting heat, doing whatever. And like the steam room does, like part of like warming up and being active is like body temperature rising. So yeah, so like the heat makes sense and those kind of things. And obviously like I like most of Dr. Ho's like deep squats and things like that too. And like obviously I think glutes need to be active. Obviously in the world now I'm in, I think your breathing needs to be prepared. Your psoas needs to be open because like your psoas and your glute work together. So okay, like that's the first part of the firing pattern, so that I'm firing inside out. Like it's the Douglas heel method of like 1, 2, 3. If like my psoas and glute are working right, now like my rectus femoris and my upper abs don't have to do the job of the psoas and the hip flexor. So now like I'm firing inside out. So I have the ability to explode inside out, as opposed to have like a weak point here where the glute's not firing or whatever, so I can implode. And then I believe in like kind of like the feet up too, like where bipeds, so like your feet need to be on too. But like if your feet and your glutes are on and connected, like your hamstring chance of being healthy is much higher and firing right. So like I always believed in that too. People kind of sleep on that. But I also think it's cool where like I don't know how many people like commonly know that like guys like you and high performers will like literally like pay mass amounts of money to fly people out. Obviously like usually like I'm sure you had multiple guys on Jacksonville paying for it too, where like I know Dr. Ho flies to like Cincinnati and LA and all these places too, Arizona. But like that's like I think that's one of the really cool parts of where like people, like I've talked to Kush on the podcast about it, like how much money did you spend on your body, and like if you're a high performer, you're spending a lot of money on your body.
I definitely agree with that. And I think the first person to kind of really tell us that as an athlete, when you found out, was LeBron James. When you find out how much he was spending every year on his body, it's like, okay, because let's just be honest, the NFL and any organization in general, they're paying athletes a lot of money. So what are you doing with that money? Are you spending that money on things that's not going to add value to your career, or are you going to reinvest it back into your business, which is your body? And I think there were points like where Dr. Ho would come and he'll work on like 5 to 10 players, and I would pay the whole tab, because my whole thing was like, he was coming down anyways to take care of me, but these guys are trying to get them a contract. They're trying to perform at a high level. Let me help them out, because they don't have the resources right now to get this, but they're thanking me because, man, I feel so much lighter. I can run. I was sore. You know how it is on a Friday. You've been practicing hard all week and you just trying to get your legs back. And I think that was the biggest thing, man, was just even paying for that, but paying for a chef to eat cleaner but have the right stuff, because you play linebacker, you know, you can't just cut everything off and just go vegan and expect to still hit these fullbacks, fill the hole, run down, take on a wedge and things like, well, new rules. But
yeah,
I think it's just really finding out what really works for you. And I think one thing that I have now that I was using a lot was the hyperbaric chamber. And that's just, you know, that helped out a lot. I would start watching film in there. And one thing that I do now, and I try to do it 3 times a week, 20 minutes, is the sauna, because especially with the African-American community, I feel like we have a lot of heart problems, and a lot of that can be eliminated with at least getting in the sauna 3 times a week for 20 minutes. And that's one thing I try to do with the infrared sauna. So
yeah, dude, I always, because obviously I have 2 mobile saunas that I use, one in my backyard and then one at the gym, but like I take it and like use it for people, but like people don't understand how much, like I call it the sauna stealing in the world of like health benefits, because it mimics aerobic workout. So like sitting in there for 20 minutes, gets your heart rate up, and like you don't got to do anything. Like it's stealing. You can just sit there and reap the benefits of an aerobic workout. But also it's like, again, it's stimulating red and white blood cells. Like it's obviously detoxifying the body. Like there's endless health benefits, but people don't understand like longevity now of life. Like if you're in the sauna like 4 days a week, like all cause mortality rates go down 35%. Like there's a bunch of longitudinal research done by the Finns. If you do it 7 days a week, it goes down 50%. And that's just because like movement's medicine, like you rust concept. Like all you need to do is stay active. You need to do this many steps a day. You need to sweat this much. And like your health becomes a lot easier to manage. But like, if you don't have those habits, if you don't have access to a sauna or haven't sought one out, like it becomes a problem. But yeah, dude, like all that stuff ends up adding up. And then like just the one, I think that's dope as fuck that you paid for everybody's Dr. Hobill. I wish J. Joe or somebody was doing that on the Texans for the boys. But no, but like that's the curiosity of like optimal performance. Like you're gonna find the best. Dr. Ho, one of the best recovery guys. He dry needles, obviously, but he obviously is this 8th generation acupuncture specialist where he can read your energy, chi, whatever it's called, and then like he'll operate off the meridians and stuff. Like, and he does Chiro after, and then like he's one of the first people to tell me to do massage before I come there, so that like I'm loose to get adjusted, so that like the muscles won't restrict the skeleton, and so he can make more potent adjustments. So okay, so now I did my massage before I got my acupuncture, before I got my Chiro adjustment, and then like okay, now the effects lasted longer. Okay, like there's not just doing it, now there's doing it in the right order. Like that's another edge to chase. So like I think that's always something people can pull into their perspective. Same as like doing the pre-workout or the pre-practice stuff. Like there's certain things you need to be calculated. It's chess, not checkers. It's not just like doing the dynamic warm up and getting a little hot. Like that's going to happen naturally, but okay, how do I do it in the smartest way so I mitigate the most injury, so I last the longest, so I eventually can stay longer eventually. But so I think that's elite, dude. Yeah, you always did it the right way. Last question, just so we stay in the time limit, but obviously after you transition from like Houston to Jacksonville, like do you notice any differences like in the culture? Did it affect your play in different ways? Did you have more freedom? Like, because obviously I think like you and Jalen were like one of the nastiest combos that year, and probably in the last like couple years in the NFL. What was the difference culturally as far as like your performance there?
I could say this, man. You know, I think you kind of said it best. With Jacksonville, man, we had so much talent, and it showed the first year, but it was really sustaining that. And I think that's with anything in life, as far as like you're going to be at a high level, but how can you sustain it, not only as an individual, but as a team? And you know how it was with Coach O'Brien in Houston. He just wanted guys who loved football. He didn't care if you were the number 1 pick in the draft or you were an undrafted guy. He was going to hold you accountable to put in the work and things like that. And I think it was a different type of culture in Jacksonville. You know, we caught success, but we wasn't able to maintain it. And I can't really speak for everybody to say like if we were doing everything the right way, but sometimes we just had bad breaks. It was injuries. But I think that's one thing that I loved about Houston. We had that kind of New England feel. We were doing more walkthroughs than practice, but we were mentally locked in. We were doing everything with intention. And it was kind of odd to me because even like when I was in Denver and Carolina, it wasn't the same as far as like on Sunday when I was playing in Houston, when I saw this look, I knew that's what I was getting because my coaches showed me that beforehand. We went through that and walked through. And I think just preparation in general was kind of different on the other teams than it was with OB in Houston. And I think that was pretty much the difference. And that's what I try to learn. Like, that's what I try to implement now is like, even learning everything, how am I going to prep myself before getting there? So that was, but we had massive talent, man, in Jacksonville. But that's the one thing I could say is just like it was just a little different preparation wise.
Yeah, it wasn't optimized. What all did you pick up? Because like obviously Jalen's a very high performer. What did you pick up from his process and his habits? Did you anything stick out there?
He was very secretive with his process. Let's just say that, because you don't really see it. But I was blessed enough to hang around him a lot outside of that. But I'll just give you a quick story to kind of tell you about Jalen when it was in Jacksonville. So we have the games on Sunday. He was doing this every week, and he did it the week we played the Steelers at home. He'll come in the locker room, you know how it is, 3-4 hours before the game. Everybody's, prehab and doing their exercises to get ready. Jalen is in the equipment room on the couch, just laying down on his phone, no stretching or nothing. Jalen was the only guy I've seen who he wouldn't stretch before a game or nothing and just go out there and perform at a high level. I think he had 2 interceptions against AB and Ben Roethlisberger that game. He didn't warm up at all. And I told him, I was like, bro, you're not going to bluff me. You have to be warming up at home because But that was him. I don't know if he does it in LA now, but that was him in Jacksonville. Like, could come straight up off the couch and just put up amazing numbers. But one thing about him, and you don't see it out of a lot of guys, his confidence is through the roof. And I think that's one reason why he is the way he is and why he talks the way he talks, because he knows what he's been blessed with, but he knows the work that he puts in at home. And it just shows. And I think that's one thing, like, I saw it out of J.C. Horn in Carolina, and those are the type of guys, like, you know, as long as they can stay healthy, they're going to be at a top level because their mindset is just different.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Probably a good place to close out too. But like, it just like the separators between the ears, and not just like between the ears isn't just like the tactical side of football. It's also, again, the confidence, and confidence is like the ability to come back from like getting mossed or getting caught on, that kind of thing. So like, okay, like there's power there. And then I always like, cause like, I think everybody's pre-game routine's massively different, but I also do think some people get it wrong, where it's like, it's like, I don't know if you remember like the Fury Wilder fight when Wilder came out, like he was pacing the whole, like they had two cameras pre-fight on, and what, like Fury's just chilling, like sitting on the couch, shooting the shit with his boys, and then warm-ups like 20 minutes before the fight. Wilder's pacing the whole time. Then he puts the whole giddy up on like 50 pounds of stuff to walk out to the ring. And like, he's wasting energy. And like, you only get so much of a battery during a day. So like the music you should listen to should be intentional. It shouldn't wear you out. Like, music can wear you out.
Yes.
Like, and the music in the game's going to wear you out too. Like imagine, like, so that's 3 hours of loud music and crowd screaming. If I put you in a car and played the song, like all the songs, and played the crowd screaming at the same volume, like, you're going to go crazy sitting in your car for 3 hours listening to that, but you don't notice it, but it does tax your energy. So like, I should listen to some pretty chill music. I should keep pretty even keel, slow breathing beforehand. I shouldn't like get too amped up. I shouldn't pace everywhere and waste energy. So like, I think that's kind of dope too, where like some people intuitively know, or like maybe that shows up in the fourth quarter for the boys, where like I saved my energy. I didn't waste it being like a diva pregame or anything like that. I did what was necessary, if anything at all. And then I went out and balled. But like,
man, those 3 hours feel like 6.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
So I totally understand that, bro. It's a lot different. And I think you can respect all athletes or any sport that know how to turn it on just like that when they get between those lines, man. I think that's the best way to say it about Jalen. Like, he was relaxed, but as soon as he got out on the field, he knew how to turn it on and lock in. I think if you could do that as an athlete, man, and find that medium of just getting ready for the game, but not being overexerting yourself, you know, you'll have a good combo.
Yeah. Like, what is the minimum effective dose to get me ready to hit that switch? And I think that's dynamite. But AJ, you're the fucking man, dude. I appreciate you hopping on. I know you got Twitch setups, you got the family calling you, so I appreciate the time and the patience, but you're the man, dude.
My God, thank you.
Yeah, easy.